Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I am so honored today to have with me Lerone Langston, founder and owner of Tie My Knot. It's not your ordinary bow tie company in North Carolina. Thank you, Lerone, for joining me on Black Entrepreneur Experience.
Thank you.
You know what? I've given our audience a very brief snippet of your bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with us what you'd like us to know about you and your company?
Okay, and as you stated, we are not your average bow tie company. We are based and founded with the idea of being part of the community. So a lot of things that we do are not only outside of the proverbial box itself, but also our way to engage in the community by using bow ties and tying it all together. A lot of times we'll take ideas that we've seen from travels in general to the local community, speaking with some potential customers, as well as seeing current fashions, whether it be via social media, whether it be via TV, or even just walking down the street old school style with foot to the pavement. But outside that box, we are not your average ordinary bow tie company.
So how did you decide this was the business for you, and what was that aha moment that you knew that it was going to be successful?
It was a by chance opportunity that I had working for a professional sports team. The management in the hospitality department liked me wearing bow ties on a daily basis, and they offered the hospitality department to wear them. And at that point in time, no one knew how to tie it. So every Sunday, they would come to me and I would have a line to tie bow ties. And one day, someone corporate came by and said, "Hey, I've got an event to go to. I would like you to tie my knot." I thought I misheard him. He repeated it and he asked me, "Well, don't you have a business? Because I see that you have the line every Sunday of people tying their bow ties." And that was the aha moment. And at that point in time, I said, "Yes, I do." And he asked me what was the name of the company. The company's name was Tie My Knot. And that's how we got started. And we knew that it would be successful because our first order after that, at becoming a business, and saying business meaning that we had all our business information lined up. Our first order was 6 and our second order was 200. So at that point in time, it let us know that we were somewhere in line of being a successful business.
So how do you define success, Lerone? What does that look like for you, and how long did it take to manifest in your life?
I've learned to define success by individual accomplishments. So what we basically do is I'll have something set up for one particular day or a particular time. And once I've accomplished that goal, I define it as a success. Because what I'm doing is I'm actually creating a story. I'm creating my foundation based on these individual successes.
So what's a daily or a weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
I constantly stay in tune with fashion. Being a daily and a weekly, I review social media, I review various sites. I go to the mall, I research different companies and organizations and colors and just look at different schemes to kind of give us some out-of-the-box ideas to create bow ties and let it tie to our customer base.
So when you were talking about social media and the internet, is there a technology platform or a social media platform that is a must-have for you in your business?
Well, there are 3, which are the basic ones. There's, of course, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Nowadays, as a small business and entrepreneur, those are your easiest platforms to do your marketing. Very minimal price financially, but maximum exposure. And you try to do things outside of the box, connect yourself and follow other people with the same ideals and companies that are lined up with what you're doing to help you engage with them, as well as keep you creative and creating your own brand.
So Lerone, tell us, what is one valuable lesson you wish you knew before starting your business?
That not all costs are financial and not all successes begin with a dollar sign. Because sometimes the cost may be more of a personal thing in regards to designing or creating or just investing in yourself. And that the success is not always defined as how much money you've made from it, but it could be possibly a seed that you've planted for further growth in your business itself.
So what's working well for you now in your business?
For us right now, we have a brand called the Millennial Edition bow tie, which is what we've developed. And what we do is that we upcycle, defined as taking something that has current value and making it more valuable. That is really resonating with our customer base because it makes us a green company where we are just taking current fabrics that have been done and making them into bow ties, being that it's defined as millennial because millennials like things that are unique and individual. When you take an item and make it into a bow tie, you may get one or two pieces of fabric out of it to make a bow tie from, and that's what makes it unique. That is really resonating with our customer base, and we're continuously growing. We've expanded that to do also military uniforms. So we also do provide, we are given and we take jackets and shirts that are from the actual military and make them into bow ties as well. So that's an increasingly growing brand that has been beneficial to us.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. And how did you come up with that idea?
Looking for ways to still increase our brand, but not spend as much money. From a lot of entrepreneurs, you'll think of always having to place money into your ideas. That is not always the case. Sometimes you look for ways to increase your footprint by taking minimal steps, so to speak. That being said, having clothes around the house that I knew I wasn't wearing, but still had some kind of value, I decided to take those and make them into something that we could actually use as a brand. Then I noticed that using certain parts, it made it more valuable because it was a unique piece that it was not seen again because that particular item may not be used or that particular brand or style may not be used anymore as well.
So, are you manufacturing yourself or have you outsourced that? And if you are outsourcing, are you outsourcing it within the USA or outside the USA?
We are manufacturing ourselves. We've actually got levels. We have levels of manufacturing. We have individuals who work for me directly. And then on top of that, depending on the size of the orders, because we're currently expanding more or less on the national to global footprint, we have a manufacturer as well based on the numbers, and that would be needing 100 or more. With them in mind, they are here in the Carolinas, actually, and they also do the same style of making the bow ties as we do, which ours are all made by hand. So we hand inspect them, we hand make them, and we hand sew them as well.
So, what's working well for you now in your business?
Just the fact of us being unique. We, being that our name, people resonates with people, time I not. Our first impression, our customer base likes because we actually have a bow tie shaped business card that takes us out of the box. On that card is a scan code that takes you directly to our website. We have applications on Android that you can go to as well and connect to us directly. On a social media platform, our Facebook is posted in 5 languages, so that increases our footprint as well. So all those tied together with us increasing our branding using the materials that are upcycled, as well as your normal cottons, things of that nature, has made us become successful.
So, let me ask you, is your background in fashion? How did you develop this eye for fashion, knowing about materials? Is it something that you developed as a hobby, or is it a piece from a academic piece that you picked up this trade? So go take us down how you actually started your business.
My background is actually sports marketing. So I've worked with the NBA, I've worked with NASCAR, the NFL, LPGA, all the major sports. And over time period, we've learned that in sports, everyone has a particular brand. The higher up on the level of the chain, so to speak, they have become, the more they have to identify themselves with either their name or a logo or something that defines who they are. So during that time period, I learned that that was something that I was familiar with and was very comfortable doing. Going into fashion, you have to stand out. As everyone knows who follows any type of sports or anything in fashion as well, everyone has a unique brand, meaning that right now the most popular brand that everybody's heard of is the Big Baller brand. And while a lot of people are disagreeing with the price of the shoe, what's important is that it's actually being branded because people are talking about it. And that's what makes you stand out. In sports, I learned that you have to stand out by being unique. Being I'm actually in the Carolinas, I travel a lot. I teach marketing and branding on a national level for an organization on the side as well called 1080 Education. One thing that I've learned in my travels is that being in the Bible Belt, we are very particular about what the next person is doing. And when you get to New York and bigger cities, there's so many people, you learn to be an individual and you do your own thing, you define your own self. And so fashion is the same way. those that you remember are the things that are outstanding as far as what your normal day is. And so I use that to define myself. And once that caught on as a particular brand for myself personally, I took it to the next level and created a business around that same ideal.
So what keeps you going?
I love what I do. It's not a job. This is a daily basis that I do this. I wear bow ties on a regular basis. Even if someone were to Google me, I never have a straight tie on, or I'm always branding. My personal brand actually is wearing T-shirts with bow ties. Very unique. It stands out. I've taken the bow tie from a formal piece and made it into more of a casual piece. And that's what resonates with our customer base, is that I'm always wearing one. So I go to meetings with a T-shirt on with Mario Brothers, and I may have a bow tie on that's a solid red, but it combines itself into making a brand statement. And that's what I do.
Nice. So, Lerone, tell us, who are your top 2 influencers in your life and what lessons did they teach you?
In thinking of that question, there's actually more than 2, and it's all defined about one popular show called Shark Tank. Shark Tank has a panel, and that panel evolves. For the most part, you have 3 or 4 of the same. But on that show, you see people who have ideas, and they're positive that their ideas are going to work, and they learn how to be creative in their ideas, giving correct information, developing their brand, and creating their presentation. So in that question itself, there's more than 2, because the show itself, which is one, has 4 components that helps me develop myself, my brand, and keeps me creative and knowing that there are other people out there who are really trying to take their ideas to the next level.
So, what do you see the direction of your business within the next 2 years?
Within the next 2 years, we see ourselves expanding more in regards to different areas. Currently, we're right now the only bow tie company on a military base. We are here locally. We're in the Carolinas, so we're on one of the bases, and we're expanding within the next couple of weeks to a second base. So our big plan is to be able to be throughout the military community. But in addition to that, we're expanding into the wedding industry. So within the next 2 years, I would like to be the go-to brand for small businesses that are bridal and tuxedo companies that would like to have their own individual custom bow ties. And that being said, someone having a tuxedo and they've got a wedding that they want to do, and they don't want the normal grays or the blacks, and they want something more unique. I want to be that go-to brand that they can go to and say, hey, this particular small business can contact us, place an order, and we can develop those bow ties for them, which will make them unique in their own individual space as well. So within 2 years, we want to be A, expanded within the military sphere, and B, expanded within the wedding industry, but regarding particular, the small business bridal shop and tuxedo owners.
Okay, so Lerone, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give to a younger you?
Stick with what you believe in. It's such a bumpy road, and sometimes you get a lot of negativity. A lot of people don't believe in exactly what you're doing, but you're going to make a lot of bad decisions. But the best thing you can do is make them early and often, because there's a long, unpaved road ahead of you. And so no matter if someone turns you down and says that you can't do this, or you get the proverbial, sorry, Mr. and Mrs., but we have been unable to hire you, take that as motivation to go to the next level and decide exactly what direction you want to go to. And don't put a timetable on it, because some people begin their professional lives later than others, and others do it earlier than others.
So tell me this, Lerone, what responsibility or role do you feel, if any, you and or your company can contribute to increasing the number of Black entrepreneurs in your area and throughout the globe?
Well, we would like to be a way for entrepreneurs to be able to think outside the proverbial box by first defining what that box is and looking at how do you make yourself different from all the rest. If you were to get me in a room full of other bow tie companies, which of course that's the hardest pill to swallow in the beginning, is to realize you're not the only one of your type. If you were to get me into a room full of small business owners, even the larger ones who own bow tie companies, everyone would look the same but me. And that is because I wear T-shirts and bow tie. That is my brand. And so that is how we would like to be able to get people to realize how, on a global scale, that you can be an individual in a room full of people who are all the same by thinking outside the proverbial box and going your own direction.
So if you had to do it all over again, would you stick to the same industry or would you change?
I would stick to the same industry because it matches my personality. It matches my lifestyle. it matches my individuality. Changing things may be the path may have gone a little bit differently, but being that my background has been in marketing, my background has been in sports, my background has been in just being grounded, it's allowed me to develop and evolve the company into a reflection of who I am as well.
So are you doing this business full time, or are you doing this in conjunction with something else?
I do it full time, but during the school year, again, I travel with an organization that teaches STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And I teach high school kids how to take an idea, such as a bow tie, and evolve it into a business. And so I do both, but that is a temporary thing, meaning that we do it once or twice a week during the school years. But 90% of my time is working on my business, because even when I travel and I'm speaking to 4,000 and 5,000 people, or 200 or 300 people, or 50 or 25 students, I'm still talking about my business and I'm still branding myself.
So what do you do, Lerone, when you hit that bump in the road and things are a little bit uncertain? How do you reset and adjust and keep moving on?
I take a deep breath and try to evaluate what went wrong and how do I correct it for next time. And that's happened a lot. It can be anything from the misspelling on a business card to misquoting a price, to even going to, for instance, as I said earlier, our first sale was 6 and our second was 200. That was a mistake. It was meant to be 8, but my sales prowess at the time did not communicate what I was looking for correctly. And so those are the point in time where you take a deep breath, you write down what you did, you write down all the steps, and you analyze, what did I do to get to this point, and try to avoid it for the next time. But as I stated earlier, you want to make all your bad decisions or errors early and often.
So let's talk about risk or failures. What was that worst moment in business, and what was the takeaway?
The worst moment I had was actually realizing that, and this is as general as I could possibly get, was that I was not the only bow tie company. Even now, when I started, everyone says, oh, such and such owns a bow tie company, or such and such owns a bow tie company, and they wear their bow ties. And you begin thinking that you want to make sure everyone has on your bow tie. And you're so proud to be able to say you own a business, but yet not everybody's wearing your bow tie. And that was something that I had to get over. I had to develop a way to understand that I am an individual company. And I had to understand that I had to answer the personal question, what makes me different than everyone else? On my phone right now, I have a saying that kind of resonates into what I'm doing. And it's basically, and it literally says, Nordstrom's is not concerned with what Kmart is doing. I cannot be concerned with what everyone else is doing. I need to create my own individual brand. I do appreciate that there are other bow tie companies, but I am tie-my-knot. And with that in mind, I cannot be concerned that this is what someone else is wearing, because at some point in time, I am creating my own path. And our goal as a company is to be the largest small business that you've never heard of.
That is great. I like that. So how do you blend your personal life, family life, and your business?
I wear my brand. Anytime you see me, I'm going to the grocery store, if I'm going to the gas station, if I'm going to a meeting, I wear t-shirts with my bow ties. So I've taken away from being a formal piece to being a casual piece. And with that in mind, I'm constantly marketing and branding myself without even saying a word. And people go, oh, wow, that's unique. Oh, that's interesting. That's different. That's out of the box. I love that style. That's how I'm branding. So I'm always working without actually doing anything in general.
So how do you balance with your family and your business with your personal life? Do you marry that, balance that, blend that?
Yeah, it's blended. My wife also works with me. She actually hand makes them. So we work together as a tandem. It's a constant 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job, but we blend it together because we work together.
That's beautiful. So talk to the person in our audience. They want to start a business. They work a 9-to-5, but they're fearful. What advice would you offer them, Lerone?
Volunteer. Shadow someone with a similar idea. I was known, still am in the community, as a volunteer person. I was very active in all nonprofits. It gave me a chance to get an idea about how CEOs work. It gave me a chance to see how the basic customer service and entry-level person works. But when you volunteer and you shadow someone, you're getting unbridled knowledge that is not priced as you would if you go to school. And that gives you a view of exactly what you're going to get into if you decide to go down that path. In addition to that, it allows you to do whatever you like to. When you are volunteering and giving up your time, you're able to do and try any opportunity that's there, sit on any kind of meeting, be plugged into any kind of opportunity that the business is doing. And from there, you can make a better decision if that's a path that you want to go down.
So, what is your biggest achievement so far with your business?
Each year that changes. This year, it is actually being the only bow tie company on a military base. Last year, it was us presenting to a company called Bilk, which is a national retailer. We were one of 19 in the country to present our products to them to get them in the stores. So as of right now, as of 2017, it is actually being on the military base and expanding our brand to the military personnel that serves our country and supports us.
So, can you give us 3 truths that you've learned in life so far?
Be true to yourself, always be branding yourself, and always know someone's watching. And that last one's important because now we redefine marketing and branding yourself, and social media and posting things is important. And what you may post today may come back to you on tomorrow. And that's very important that you decide to go down the path of the entrepreneur because people are always watching, looking, and Googling.
That's good. So, what book would you recommend to our audience and why?
There's a book that I read a while ago, but it's called $100 Startup. It's made by Chris Gillibrand is the name of the author. And it just gives you a basic overview of being an entrepreneur and how, as the questions have been directed, how he blended his life to turn it into a business. Because you have to do something that you're familiar with and you've researched to become a business. And he gives you just a basic idea of how that works for him and how it can be reflected into your own individual business.
So, Lerone, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you, and I would like you to answer that question?
What is your box, the proverbial box? You always hear the words, think outside of the box. But if you don't know what the box is, how can you think outside of it? So that's a question that everyone has the answer at some point in time of what is that box?
And that's really very profound that you said that because I always say color outside the lines. And there's a gentleman, Eric, and I cannot think of his last name, but I could Google it and I don't want to mess up the interview. But this gentleman, he talks about this story. And if you ever see him, he's a motivational speaker and he is a painter. He does this amazing talent that what he'll do is he'll speak in front of a crowd and he'll play music, he'll tell a story, and once the song is on, so a song lasts like 3 to 5 minutes, once the song is finished, he's painted this amazing artwork. And so what's so profound about Eric's story is that when Eric was a kid and a little bitty boy and he was in school, and he started drawing, coloring like most kids. And his teacher was just like, oh my goodness, Eric, this is a mess. And he colored outside the lines. And she's like, you will never be good, just messed up his ego. And I think he was like 5 or 6 years old. And he said he never colored again. He never did anything else. And I think at the age of 30 or 40 or something, Eric picked up the paintbrush. And I mean, he's just an amazing artist, and his stories are so profound, and he has perfected his trade, and his paintings go for a lot of money. And I've heard him speak a great deal, and now what he's done, the last time I saw him, which was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he'd had a painting. And so how he integrated, and you talked about always looking at ways to rebrand yourself. And I was thinking about, my mom made a conversation and she said, why doesn't Oprah go somewhere and sit down somewhere? She's a billionaire. She has all this money, but it's always about reinventing yourself, and your creative juices is always flowing when you get to that level and you know that it's more that you can contribute and you don't want to die with this stuff inside of you. And so what this gentleman had done is he had incorporated social media. And so he would paint this painting and in front of the group or whomever he's speaking. And so he would take the painting and he would hide the painting within the city where the conversation is. So at this point we were in Utah, and so he hid the painting. And so on social media you had to find the clues, and whoever found the clues and found the painting, they can have this valuable painting. So I agree with you 100%. It is about thinking outside the box and coloring outside the lines. So thank you for that information. Can you share with our audience, Lerone, a parting piece of advice you want to offer?
Yes, plant your seeds of success daily and build your story one chapter at a time. Because what's happened is that you can't be afraid to develop your brand, but you'll be doing it each and every day. So whether it's in my situation, when I wake up in the morning and I'm doing my chores and working on the business, if I step outside, I have a bow tie on because that's my brand. So you always want to plant your seeds daily and build your story one chapter at a time.
Wonderful. So now what we're going to do is move into what I call the Fun Facts Lightning Round. And I'm going to ask you to give very quick answers to these questions. If it's something that you choose not to answer, you could say pass. Okay. So are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
Yes.
So Lerone, tell us the last movie you saw.
San Andreas Fault with The Rock.
And you relaxed doing what?
Watching CNBC and all the entrepreneur programs on there.
And your favorite singer or rapper?
John Legend.
And your favorite dance song?
Whitney Houston, Dance to Somebody.
And what food you eat every week, no matter what?
Rice.
And your favorite month?
December.
Thank you. And that concludes our lightning round. And so what I'd like to do is just personally thank you for your time. And as a husband and a busy entrepreneur, we are so grateful for the time that you have spent with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. And in closing, share with our audience, what is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
They can actually email me at info, which is INFO, at tie-my-knot.com.
Thank you so much. That's a wrap, and you've heard it from Lerone Langston. And we so appreciate him spending time with us at Black Entrepreneur Experience.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.